This is not your basic Michael Jordan stats video. These are rarely brought up numbers that will put the nail in the coffin in the supposed GOAT debate. When you think you've heard it all before, you'll quickly realize that there are so many layers to his greatness. I found 23 stats that will change the GOAT debate forever. The first one has to do with the level of competition that he faced in the playoffs. We're going to look at the number of 60-win teams that he faced. Out of all the top 75 players, he is second all time. He faced 9 such teams. The player above him is his teammate Scottie Pippen. He faced 10 60-win teams. But let's not forget that he lost 2 of those teams once he left the Bulls. On the other hand, Michael went 7-2 against them. So if you're one of those people that say he only went 6-0 in the finals because of the competition, the stats completely debunk that theory. Stat number 2 complements that very well. The reasons why the Bulls kept winning is because they had the greatest playoff performer. It is extremely tough for a player to perform at a high level for 4 straight rounds. The numbers say that no one was more consistently dominant when it mattered the most. There have only been 15 times since the shot clock era that players average over 30 points per game while leading his team to the title. Out of those 15 times, Jordan has done it 6 times. As you can see, Shaquille O'Neal is the only other player to do it multiple times. Anyone can average 30 points in the regular season, but when you're trying to lead a team to the title, it's not as easy as it looks. Stat number 3 reiterates that when it comes to playoff performers, there's Michael Jordan, and then there's everyone else. If we look at the top 10 highest playoff scoring averages from players that ended up winning the title, Michael has 6 appearances. That, of course, includes the top 2 spots. So the way a player performs in the playoffs is an important aspect in determining who the GOAT is. It's hard to explain why anyone wouldn't have Jordan as the greatest ever. With stat number 4, we take a break from his playoff scoring dominance. We now want to highlight how legendary of a two-way player he was. For the greatest two-way player title, there are many players that are worthy of consideration, but there is one stat that favors MJ in a major way. Did you know that there have only been 3 players that have ever won the scoring title and was selected to the All-NBA First Team defense in the same season? Those 3 players are Jerry West, Michael Jordan, and Kobe Bryant. Jerry did it once, Kobe did it twice, and Jordan did it a staggering 9 times. There is simply no one that scored at the rate that Michael did while playing defense at a historic level. We can absolutely prove that with stat number 5. We're going to look at all the winners of the Defensive Player of the Year. History says that most of the winners were defensive specialists. Their primary focus was playing defense, and they didn't contribute much on scoring. Out of the 43 winners, only 12 were able to average over 20 points per game. That is easy to explain why. It's tough for a player to be considered the best defender in the league if you're putting so much attention on offense. 99% of players don't have that kind of energy. Unless you're talking about Michael Jordan. As you can see, he easily posted the highest points per game average. He is the only one to average over 30 points. But that's not all. He posted the 3rd highest assist per game average. He had the ability to carry his team on both ends of the floor. If you want to call him the greatest two-way player, the numbers are certainly in your favor. This leads us to stat number 6. There have only been 12 times that a player posted over 40 points and 5 steals in a playoff game. Out of those 12 occasions, Michael did it 3 times. There is no such thing as taking a break on defense with him. He would completely tear apart the defense on one end. On the other, he will lock down his opponent or fly across the passing lanes to create a turnover. It's just amazing the type of energy he had. His all-around greatness doesn't get talked about enough. We're not going to dismiss that part of his game here. For stat number 7, he contains a record that completely destroys the trash statement that he was only a scorer. He is the only guard in history to lead his team in points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks in a playoff series. He accomplished this in the 1989 second round series against the New York Knicks. He averaged 35.7 points on 55% shooting, 9.5 rebounds, 8.3 assists, 2.5 steals, and 1.3 blocks per game. For stat number 8, we're not just going to limit ourselves to one playoff series. Let's dive into what he can do for an entire playoff run. We're only looking at players that at least went past the first round. Did you know that he's only one of 2 players to average over 30 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals per game for the postseason? As you can see, he did it 4 times. Again, to say that he only contributed to scoring is just ignorant. The numbers clearly suggest that he had an impact in every single aspect of the game. Why else would he be the only player to ever accomplish what we're going to discuss for stat number 9? He is the only player to win the MVP, Finals MVP, scoring title, All-NBA First Team, All-NBA First Team Defense, and All-Star in the same season. If anyone else accomplished this, we would all be saying that they have one of the greatest single seasons in league history. But Michael didn't just do it once, he did it 4 times. When it comes to players at their peak, Jordan proved time and time again that no one compares. His individual dominance can't be stated enough, but we also want to look at the way he led his team to greatness. For stat number 10, we're going to look at their team success. The 1996 and 1997 Bulls had the top 2 spots for the most wins by any title-winning team. Then he has the 3rd appearance in the top 10 with the 1992 Bulls. That is the most out of any top 75 player. What's even crazier about all the team success he had is that we can never claim that Michael played in a super team. This leads us to stat number 11. Did you know that he's only played with 1 All-Star teammate for his entire career? Only Scottie Pippen has played alongside him in an All-Star game. But that's not something that he could always count on. There were 6 seasons where he was a lone representative for his team. So for 40% of his career, he was the only All-Star. Could you imagine what he could have accomplished if he played with All-Star teammates for his entire career? There's no question that those Bulls teams in the 90s were all-time great, but that doesn't change the fact that there were times where he needed to do the heavy lifting. This leads us to stat number 12. In the 1997 playoffs, Michael accomplished something incredibly impressive that no one ever talks about. This was the only time in history that a team won the title with only 2 players averaging over 10 points per game in the postseason. Michael averaged 31.1 points, Scottie averaged 19.2 points, and everyone else was under 8 points per game. Michael shot 46% from the field, which is lower than his normal efficiency. But you would have to excuse him, as he was asked to score over 1/3 of the team's points every single game. It's amazing that they were still able to win the title. Believe it or not, there are some who claim that Jordan would have never won in the 80s. They have obviously forgotten how dominant he was during the golden era of the NBA. For stat number 13, check out what he accomplished during that decade. He posted the 2 highest points per game averages, as well as the 5th highest. He's among 4 players to average over 3.2 steals per game. He has the top 3 highest win shares, value over replacement player rating, PER, and box plus minus. He posted the 5th most triple doubles, and he is tied for the 4th most top 3 finishes in MVP voting, along with Dr. J. Yeah, I think Michael would have done just fine if he had a legitimate squad during that time. Despite the overwhelming success he had, there are some who penalize him for his playoff failures against the Celtics and against the Orlando Magic. But people fail to realize how incredibly tough it is to dominate in the playoffs while only playing 20 games or less in the regular season. There are really only 3 examples when it comes to star players, which leads us to stat number 14. We first have Wilt Chamberlain in 1970. He only played 12 games, but in the playoffs, he averaged 22.1 points on 55% shooting and 22.2 rebounds per game. They were only 1 game away from winning the title. Then we have what Michael Jordan did in 1986. After only playing 18 games, he averaged 43.7 points per game on 51% shooting against the Celtics in the first round. Then in 1995, after a 21-month absence and only playing 17 regular season games, he did this in the playoffs. He averaged 31.5 points per game on 48% shooting. History indicates that it's extremely hard for someone to play like themselves in the playoffs when they're out for the majority of the regular season. Everyone else would have gone to pass in those circumstances, except for one guy. That's because Jordan didn't use that as an excuse, and he raised his level of play. This was something that he always did, even from the moment he entered the NBA. For stat number 15, we're going to remember what he accomplished in his legendary rookie season. Since the merger, he is the only rookie to average over 25 points per game while shooting over 50% from the field. If you look through all of history, he is only one of 4 players. As a rookie, he was embarrassing his defenders and there was nothing they could do to stop him. His efficiency is one of the most impressive traits. For stat number 16, he proved that he is the most efficient volume scorer. Starting in the mid-90s, the pace started decreasing and the defense went to another level. Players weren't scoring as they do now. But in 1996, Jordan remained the most dominant offensive force. He averaged 30.4 points per game on 49.5% shooting. Did you know that it took nearly 20 years for a player to average over 30 points while being that efficient? It wasn't until 2014 when Kevin Durant was finally able to surpass those numbers. But by then, there were several rule changes that promoted a more offensive-friendly league. For Michael to post those numbers during that era highlights how skillful of a scorer he was. We continue with this efficiency for stat number 17. There has been 31 times in history that players average over 30 points per game while posting a 60 true shooting percentage. Jordan has done it 4 times, which is the most in history. Again, we have never seen a more efficient volume scorer. But his efficiency goes beyond the shooting numbers, as we'll see with stat number 18. We're going to look at the lowest turnover percentage for players that average at least 5 assists per game. As you can see, he has 2 spots in the top 10. In fact, Michael has 6 appearances in the top 50. Michael was very conscious of not committing errors when he had the ball. That includes placing the ball at the perfect spot to allow his teammates to make a play. Jordan could absolutely break a defense down with his passing. For stat number 19, he proved this in the biggest stage. There have been 5 times that he posted over 30 points and 10 assists in the finals. That is the second most ever. Imagine saying that Jordan wasn't a great all-around player. People could get so confused with how staggering his scoring numbers are. When you see stat number 20, you can understand the confusion. He had 38 games where he scored over 40 points or more in the playoffs. That is more than what Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Hakeem Olajuwon, Vince Carter, and Luka Doncic have done for their entire careers in the regular season. The bigger the moment, the more aggressive he was on offense. That's what you want from your star player. There's no greater example than what he did in the 1993 finals. He averaged 41 points per game on 51% shooting, which is the finals record. But for stat number 21, that's not what we're using. Did you know that there was one player that scored over 40 points against the 1993 Phoenix Suns? For the regular season and playoffs, it was only Jordan, and he did it 6 times. We can't act like players were having a field day against that team. In fact, they were 9th in defensive rating, but they had no answers for the greatest scorer in NBA history. That's nothing to be ashamed of. No one had an answer for him. That includes the most legendary defensive teams. For stat number 22, we're going to use a few examples. Let's start with the bad boy Pistons. From 1988 to 1991, Jordan scored over 40 points against them 8 times, and he shot under 50% once. As you can see, no one else did it more than once. It's no wonder they needed to invent the Jordan rules, and even then, they still had little to no answers. Then we have those tough New York Knicks teams. From 1992 to 1997, he scored over 50 points against them 3 times. Only Dominique Wilkins was able to score that much against them. Then Pat Riley went to the Miami Heat, and they were equally as tough on defense. From 1996 to 1998, we can see that only Jordan and Penny Hardaway were able to score over 40 points multiple times. But of course, Jordan was able to add a 50-piece against them. And finally, in honor of 23, we're going to add a clutch stat. Michael Jordan is the only basketball player to ever claim to accomplish this. He made the game-winning shot to win the national championship and also the NBA Finals. Unlike some players, Michael Jordan had the clutch gene right from the beginning. That concludes this list, but what about you all? Are there any stats that weren't mentioned that prove to you that Michael is the GOAT? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.